Up to $100, no money. $100 down to 140, but I'm going to go 50 to 175. 170, but I'm going to get $200 now. Up to 175.
Hi everybody, my name is Daniel West. I'm one of the co-founders of Auction Method, and today I will be your instructor. We will be learning all about consignor management in the Auction Method software system for auctioneers. Before we really get into too much of this though, I'd like to just make sure that we're clear about what a consignor is. A consignor is a seller. The two terms are synonymous. So the seller is the person who owns the items that are being sold at auction. So in most cases, the auctioneer doesn't own the stuff that they're selling. It belongs to someone else who has consigned those items with the auctioneer to sell. There are some cases, of course, where auctioneers are not doing consignment auctions, but in those cases, they oftentimes do want to track sales in particular fashions, where it might be helpful to use the consignor management functionality anyway, even if you're not even though you don't have actual consignors. The other thing is we're going to talk about commission scales and commission rates. A commission scale is, well, first of all, a commission is what you're going to be charging as the auctioneer. You're going to be charging the consignor something to perform the service, providing auction services. And therefore, you're going to charge a commission. And the commission can be a flat amount. It can also be a percentage-based commission, a percentage of the sale. And we're going to get into all of those details here in just a little bit. Finally, there's what's known as the consignor statement. The consignor statement is kind of like an invoice. It's the after the auction's all over, everyone has paid, the assets have been picked up. Then it's time to settle up with the consignor, and that's when you provide them with the consignor statement. And the consignor statement has all of the items that they consigned, whether they sold or not, how much they sold for, all of that good stuff, taxation, buyer's premium, fees, you name it, it's all in there. We're going to get right into it. Without further ado, then let's go ahead and hop on over to our demonstration website here. You can see that I'm already logged in as an administrator because I have this link up here in the menu. I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and you can see over here on the left-hand side already a prominent feature is the consignor menu option here. But before we really get into actually creating and editing consignor accounts, what I'd like to show you is the commission scales. You can create as many commission structures or scales as you'd like. There are already two of them in here. You can see sort of what they look like if I edit one of them. This is sort of what a standard scale looks like, and as I mentioned, you can have percentage-based scales or flat rate scales. But what I'd like to do is just go ahead and create a new one. So what I'm going to do is call this my special flat rate, like so. And then I define my levels. So between $0 and let's say $999.99, I just want to charge a flat $10, let's say. And then we'll go ahead and add another one from $1,000 up to say $99,999.99. I want to charge $100. And last but not least, from $100,000 to $9,999,999.99 So many nines. In those cases, I'd like to charge $5,000, let's just say. Okay, like so. If I wanted to have a flat commission structure, this is how I would create it. And I would just click add here, like so. And there we have our special flat rate. But let's go ahead and create a percentage-based rate. Okay, you can see there. Now, if the active button here, what that means is that it's available. That commission structure is available to be used to be assigned to consignors. It just means it's available, it's active. So we're going to go ahead and add a level in here. And in this case, I actually think I'm just going to go straight to $9,999.99. And what I'd like to earn is a 45% commission rate there. So then past that, I'd like to go to, say, something like that, and I want to make 25% of that. That's a very, very, very simple percentage rate, like so. So now we've created two different commission structures here, and that's important to do that before you start creating consignors. So let's just go ahead and click on the consignor option now in the main menu here, and you'll see I'm taken to a list of the consignors. Let's go ahead and spend a minute and get familiar with this page. So over here at the top, you'll see there's a filter that allows you to display all the records, the active records, or the blacklisted records. A blacklisted record is somebody that used to be a consignor, used to be a user in the system, but they've been banned from the system and they're not allowed to be to have user accounts anymore. Those, if they've been banned, they'll show up under blacklisted records. But for the most part, you're usually just looking at active records. If you've accidentally deleted a consignor account, it's easy enough to recover them here. You just press the recover button and you'll get the entire account with all of their information, including their past statements and everything, right back as it was before you deleted it. We're going to press this button in just a little bit. This is where you go and create a new consignor record. If you need help, you can press the help text at any time, and that will load some helpful information about the various fields and options on the screen. What you saw me just press there was the advanced search option. This is applies to all of the records down here, all of the consignor records. And we're able to filter these records based upon various criteria. For example, the ID or the email address or the location. If you happen to select records here, multiple records that you want to delete at the same time, you can do that by selecting the records you want to delete and then pressing the delete button here. When you download the report, it's going to download whatever's on the screen. So in this case, we have 6 consignors. If I press download report, then I'm going to end up getting a spreadsheet that has all of the consignor records, all of the information that we have about that consignor account will be in the spreadsheet. Below that, you have the actual list. You can click on any of these column headers up here to sort the list if you want to. You also have these little eyes here. If you click on them, you'll get more information about the consignor, including their email address and some basics about their location, contact information. And then if you want to delete a single record, you could do that here. And if you want to edit a consignor, then you would just press the edit button. The edit button looks, when you press that, the options you get are very, very similar to when you press the add new consignor, which is what I just did. You'll notice that on my screen, it has at the very top, it says load template, and it's already been selected. That's because I've created a default consignor record template that I can then automatically use for all new consignor records. And it's possible to have multiple consignor records or consignor types here, different templates. The templates just make it easy. I don't have to fill out all of the fields. I'm just going to leave all of this stuff alone. You'll notice that there's a primary address and a mailing address that can be separated, or you can just say it's the same here if that's the case. Obviously, you've got their phone number, and you can add as many email addresses as you want to the account, so any notifications, any notices that get sent out through the system will go not only to the main email address associated with the consignor record, but to all of the other email addresses that you enter here. You can also, on the statement itself, the consignor statement after an auction, it will display the consignor's address on there, and typically you would display the mailing address, but you could swap it out for the physical address too, if that seems appropriate. The consignor contract expiration date it's an optional field, but if you have standing contracts with consignors that last a certain amount of time, then you can enter an expiration date, and that just makes it so that you can filter those records. The screen we were on before, it just means that you're going to be able to filter those records based upon the expiration date to see if anybody needs to renew their contracts with you. Now, we already talked about commission scales and commission rates here, but we're gonna take a look at what it looks like here. So at this point, it's time to assign the commission structure that you want to the consignor. And there's different ways to do that. One is by selecting one of the scales. These are the same scales that we saw before. So for example, you see I can just put my mouse over this little link right here, the lookup link, and it'll show me what the breakdown looks like. So I know that I'm selecting the right one. So for example, when I switch to default, this is what that commission structure looks like. And I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm going to leave it at default. Now the thing is that if I just wanted to, if I didn't want to scale it, the commission, and I just wanted to charge, say, a flat 20%, no matter what, I could do that right here just by entering a commission rate of 20%. If I do that, then automatically the commission scale gets set to none because you can't have both. It's either or, either a commission scale or a commission rate. But I'm going to go back to my default commission scale because I like that. Then we get down to the minimum amounts. Now, these minimum amounts define how much you earn as an auctioneer from the consignor, how much they're going to pay at the minimum, no matter what. So this is based upon a lot, like per lot, or per auction, also known as per statement. So we're going to look at these minimums here. There are, you can charge both a minimum per lot and a minimum per statement, or you can charge a minimum per lot without, you can select each one of these minimums individually. Now, we will be adding a none option in here, but if for the moment, if you don't have a none option in there, then, and you don't want to charge a minimum, just select lot minimum commission and set that to $0. But in this case, I actually want to charge both. So at the very least, I want to make $5 per lot. This is per lot. And then this is a statement minimum commission. And at the very least, I want to make, say, $500 on the statement, no matter how many items are on there. Down below that, you'll see it says commission on no sale. Now, no sale can happen in many situations. For example, if the item doesn't get any bids on it, or if whoever was the winning bidder didn't pay for it and it never was sold, you still have it. That's a no sale. If the item doesn't meet the reserve price defined by the consignor, then it's a no sale. Also, if you allow buybacks, meaning if you allow your consignors to bid on their own items and to buy them back, potentially, then a buyback like that is considered a no sale as well. So you're either charging a commission on these no sales or not. If you are, then a no sale will be assessed the minimum commission amount. This option down below that where it says display bidder name on statement, most auctioneers do not have that selected. It can be helpful. Sometimes it's good for the consignors to know who the buyers are. For example, if they're managing their own removal process, sometimes it's helpful to have the buyer's name on the statement. But typically that's not where you would share that information. So typically this would be deselected, but if you have reason to share the buyer's information on the statement, then you would just select that box. Below that, we're getting into consignor permissions. Yay. All right. So what we're talking about here are the options for the consignor's account. So the consignor can do what when they log in, if they log in. So the very first one is, can they bid? Can they bid on the auction site? That's all that question is asking. And that is not, so if you are going to allow them to bid on their own items or on anybody else's items at all using their consignor account, then this box needs to be checked. If you don't want them to be able to use this account that you're creating to place bids, deselect it. If you are going to give this consignor permission to place bids on the website, can they do it without having a valid credit card on file? Now, not everybody requires credit cards, but most auction companies do require a valid credit card in order to successfully register a new user account and place bids. In this case, you can override that by saying that this consignor account, they're allowed to place bids without having a valid credit card number on file. Below that is the buyback question. Are you going to allow this consignor to place bids and potentially win their own items at auction? This can be sort of contentious within the auction industry. You can see that the software supports it, but it doesn't require it. So if you do want to allow consignors to protect their interests at auction by placing bids, you can do that by allowing buybacks. Just remember that a successful buyback on the part of a consignor is considered a no sale for sake of calculating commissions. Below that, we've got the option to view statements. That just means that when they log into their account, there will be a tab that says My Statements. And as you guessed, it's a list of all of their past and present consignor statements. Below that, you'll see that there's an option to allow negative net due. Typically, this is not selected, but in the case where the consignor is going to end up owing you money for some reason, and instead of you owing them money, then you will allow a negative net due. Potentially, for example, with minimums. Like so, in that case, if they're going to have to pay you at the end of this whole thing rather than you paying them, you would allow a negative net due. And last but not least, we have this option to email account information. If you don't select this option, then the consignor will not receive information that they have an account. So it's unlikely that they're even going to attempt to log in because they won't know that you've set them up with an account. And that's good use, good practice for auction companies that don't share share account access with consignors. That's an option that you have, but you don't have to use. If you don't give them the information about logging into their account, however, they're not going to know even that they have these permissions or that they have an account for that matter. Now down below you'll see here there is the option, once you've made changes here to a record, you can save the settings as a template. You saw the templates that were available up at the top. So if you have a certain type of consignor that always has the same type of commission structure or the same type of permission structure, you can just save that as a template so you don't have to select it every single time. You would just give that template a name. Let's say that. And if you select default, that means that it's going to always auto-populate with that particular template. If you don't make it the default, then it's available, but it's not going to auto-populate. Once you put in a name and selected whether it's a default template or not, you just press the save button, and that's how you create a template. A consignor template, that is. Okay, great. We're making good progress here, but we're not quite done. We want to now take a look at consignor statements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my list of auctions here. You can see some of them have already closed. I'm going to go ahead and enter this auction here, the one called Classic Cars. And what we're going to do is we're going to, over here on the left-hand side, you'll see that in the auction menu, we have this option for auction consignors. Now, no one in this case, if what this statement here is saying is that there are no consignor statements yet generated, and that's, you don't want to generate the statements typically until after the payment period has concluded and you've accepted payments for all of the auction items. You can generate the statements at any given time, so that's helpful, but typically you want to wait until after the invoicing period, the payment period is over in order to generate your consignor statements. But when you're ready, it's as simple as pressing this button here that says Generate Statements. When you do that, all of these statements will appear in the list. This list is very similar to the list of consignors. In this case, though, it's going to show you who the consignor is, the number of lots that they have consigned, the total amount of the items that the items sold for at auction, and then any of the commissions, fees, refunds, amount due, and the status of the statement. Up at the top, you'll see typical sort of filters. So if you need to filter by a lot number or a company name or the status of a particular consignor statement, then you can use these options up above to filter the list below. You'll also see that if I select one or more of these, I can use these batch actions over on the right. This allows you to perform these actions against one or more items at a time. And so for each of the options, you can either do it to everything in the list, or you can do it to perform that action against only the selected items. So for example, you can email them, meaning you can send the statements out to the consignors. You can print them, you can download them, you can mark them as unpaid, You can approve them, you can mark them as paid, and you can reset them all. So, and resetting a statement means that if you've made modifications to it, it's just going to basically wipe out anything that you did to that statement and start fresh. That's what resetting a statement is all about. So what I'm going to do here now is I want to actually act on one of these statements. So what I'm going to do is I'll just go ahead and select this one right here. You'll see when I hover over the actions gear icon, I have these options. I can administer, I can email, download, print, or delete. These are the same options. The three options here in the middle are the same options that you see in the batch actions. The two that are different are administer and delete. And so in this case, if I want to do anything where I want to modify, review, change the status of one of these statements, all I have to do is click on administer, and you'll see now I'm looking at a statement. A statement contains primarily a list of the items and how much it sold for, how much the auctioneer's commission was, and how much is due. That's the primary sort of list. And then down at the bottom, you have additional information about the commissions, like kind of an explanation, like about why the commissions were, why things were charged the way they were. And so you'll also have these totals down at the bottom. At the top, however, you have your controls, what you can do with a statement. Up at the top, these three options right here are just changing the status, and the status is something that you can filter the list on. Typically, if you have the statements, somebody comes along and reviews them, possibly makes modifications, some changes, and they mark it as approved. Once you've actually paid out the consignor using this option down below here, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and just do it. You typically would put in, say, like a check number, and then you would record it like that. You can see that it didn't change the status. That's done manually, and that's intentional. So you got to record the payout here and then mark it as paid. You can also add fees, special fees, to the statement. You can, I'll just click on that so you can see it. So in this case, if you have different fees that you've already created, custom fees, these are known as, you can apply them to a consignor statement after the fact. You can reset the statement, as is what I was talking about earlier. Refreshing a statement is typically not used anymore, but it has to do with refreshing the data based upon invoice payments. That's done dynamically now, so this option is sort of an artifact and probably won't be there for long. So you can also update the commission, just a flat rate for the statement. Let's say you just want to override everything and just change the statement, the commission rate for the entire statement. You can do that here. If you have some kind of special considerations or you've had some communications with this particular consignor, you can keep track of those notes here. And we already went over the payout for consignors. Now, what is not quite evident is that there are gear icons for each and every single line item here. And when I hover over these gear icons, the options are to add a fee, to edit the commission, and to remove the lot from the statement. So you can perform actions against the statement as a whole, and you can also perform actions on individual lots within the statement. And as far as I know, I think that that's about everything that we are wanting to do. So I appreciate you coming and joining me for this class. If you are an Auction Method subscriber already and you have more questions about how consignor management works, then you can just hit the support button within your admin area in order to contact support. You can also email support@auctionmethod.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible with expert advice on how to do whatever it is that you're trying to do within the software. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.